Section 8 of The American Diary of a Japanese Girl. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Lynette Calkins. The American Diary of a Japanese Girl by Yone Noguchi. In Americi, Part 8. 15th. Shall I make a little kimono for Schuyler's baby? It would be a souvenir of my visit. The crepe kept in the Jap stores of this town isn't appropriate for a baby's bebe. My flower-dyed under kimono should be utilized. I opened my trunk. Mother Schuyler brought in a young lady. She was her niece, that is to say, the daughter of Mrs. Ellis. Mrs. Ellis is the one with the long hair on her cheek. I told them of my new drift. They were surprised at my determination. Miss Olive applied to be my pupil in Japanese sewing. What a Southern name! Olive perfectly fits for a girl born in the passionate breeze. Her "Is that so?" or "Don't you?" fluttered affectionately like golden sunshine. Mrs. Schuyler bade her servant to move in the machine. I objected. Machine clicking is not Oriental. The bibi has to be done in pure Japanese. 16th. I found a hammock on the veranda. It is the thing for summer, of course. I never laid me in it before in my life. I thought that I would see how I would feel. I hanged it. I romped in it. It was delightful. I fancied that I and who, hammocked among the summer breezes. Then a star appeared. He said, "How beautiful the star is." What did I fancy next? Oh, never mind. I tossed my feet. The skirt fluttered. My new satin slippers, number 1½ were all seen. I drew up my skirt a little and made a whole show of my honorable legs. I prayed that somebody would pass by to fling an adoring glance at them. No one roamed along. I scorned my frivolity. The Bible by me wasn't open at all. I decided to read it today, although religion isn't so becoming. My bishop sent it this morning. Dear old bishop, he thought me quite a docile nen. I stretched my body in the hammock. Alas, Ma! My hana kansashi with the butterflies was caught by the meshes. The wings of one butterfly were tortured. Yes, I had put a Japanese pin on my hair this morning. I hoped I could pay a bit more attention to my head all the time. I was sad for a while. 17th. Good Annie wrote me from Mrs. Willis. What a scrawl! But woman's bad grammar and infirm penmanship are pathetic, don't you think so? It might look better on a thin blue tablet, but poor Annie chose such thick, smooth paper. Oya! What? A $5 check? My goodness, I had forgotten all about my lottery. Even the ticket I have lost. It drew out $5. Why not $30,000? It was better than a blank anyway, I said philosophically. Now, let me send a little present to my home. A little thing is a deal sweeter. I ordered 14 packets of New York Central Park lawn seed from a nursery. New York Central Park. Doesn't it sound grand? And other flower seeds also. The dwarf sweet pea is named Cupid. It will be no wonder if my father mistakes it for a kibisho. Cupid is a handsome boy, not a bullfrog-looking teapot, funny papa. He is garden crazy. I can imagine how conceited he will be showing around his western sea flowers when they are in bloom. I asked my uncle to translate the directions. Isn't it handy to keep a secretary? I'll not miss signing my name on the translation. My daddy may think it was done by myself. Woman is a snob. Now, what for Mama? 18th. Mother Schuyler took me to her church. Such a heathen me! I felt that I was sitting on needles when I slipped into the American church without glancing at even one page of the Bible. It was as risky a venture as to face an examination before fitting. The service hadn't begun. Many ladies were introduced to me by Mrs. Schuyler. They talked about, what? Anything but religion. I was fanned continually by an offensive odor. Someone had left her perfume at home. Honorable armpit smell. America cultivates many a disagreeable sort of thing, doubtless. The ladies seemed to regard the church as another drawing parlor. My mind was calmed within 10 minutes. Urishiya! The American church is not a difficult place at all. A Japanese church is ever so sad-faced. No woman under 30 is seen there. I laughed at the thought of an incense-smelling young girl. Isn't it strange that American girls love the church? Is it because they cannot marry without it? Sunday amusement doesn't begin before noon. What would girls do if there were no church where they could burst into song? How classically the bald head of the minister shone! There is nothing more pleasing than a sweeping sermon on a bright day. But my mind strayed, wondering why all those ladies were so homely. I snatched my hat off, wishing to be different from the rest. I fancied the reason why their hats were eternally glued to their heads was because their hair was never in first-rate order for exhibition. Many years ago I used to steal into a Buddha temple, being a little otenba, and tap an idol's shoulder, saying, "How are you getting along, Hotoki-sama?" Not one idol here. No incense. How uninteresting. How silly I was, inventing some clever thing for the occasion when I should be forced to confess. The church was not Catholic. When we returned home, Mrs. Schuyler asked me what was the text. Let me see. I made as if I had been a listener to the sermon. Dear Mrs. Schuyler, what was it? I exclaimed as if I had accidentally forgotten. 19th. Miss Olive offered to show me how to play golf. I went to her home at Pasadena. Pasadena is a luxurious winter resort of cheerful aspect. Its water is blessed. Even the streetcars run like a well-bred gentleman. The dog never growls around. It only wags its tail. No beggars. America's outdoor diversion demands a great deal of strength. What an imbecile anigo! After 15 minutes, I found 2 bean-like blisters on each palm. I gave up the game. I bought a golf outfit, nevertheless, in a store on my way home. The sight of a lady carrying it once stamped itself on my mind as so charming. What attire would be becoming to me? I said that my waist should be of deep red wool. Skirt? It must also be of wool, of course, with a large checkerboard pattern. Silk isn't gamesome, is it? And the hat should be a mouse-colored felt, which must be thrust carelessly by my big gold pin with a coral head. I well nigh decided to dye my hair red. What will my uncle say? 20th. Schuyler's cook wasn't acquainted with the art of rice cooking. Mother Schuyler said explanatorily that she had never tasted properly cooked rice since the day at Yokohama. The rice was pasty. I thought I would boil the rice according to Japanese prescription for today's dinner. I stepped down to the kitchen. I put 3 cupfuls of rice in a saucepan and dipped my hand in it and supplied water as much as to my wrist. I placed it on the splendid fire till the agitated water pushed up the lid. Then I moved it onto a gentle fire. The cooking was done after 20 minutes. I was honored by everybody at the dinner. The rice was singularly fine. The grains kept their own perfect shapes. After the dinner, I approached Mrs. Schuyler with ink and paper. "Will you write your recommendation of my rice cooking?" I said. She gazed at me questioningly. What a funny girl! What shall I say? Then I dictated solemnly thus: "To whom it may concern, I highly recommend Miss Morning Glory with her honorable art of rice cooking. Her method is Japanese, that is to say, the best in the world. Mrs. Schuyler. 21st. Without a nephew, Mother Schuyler wouldn't be a complete old dear. She has one, fortunately. Olive-san told me a whole lot about her great brother. He is a promising artist. Artist? Doesn't an artist affect boorish hair? I was anxious to know how his hair was, because I hated anything long except a frock coat. Miss Olive declared him one handsome boy. I thought, how ridiculous is the American girl to praise her brother. It is Japanese etiquette to undervalue one's relatives in describing them. I finished my imaginary sketch of his face before we intruded in his studio. Olive presented me to him. He was a comely young man. What gratified me most about him was his shapely shoes, well polished. He knew how to talk with girls. I was instantly put on unceremonious terms. How beautifully he once slipped Miss in addressing me. His grace sounding, "Pardon me, I mean Miss Morning Glory," pleased me enormously. I told him that it was a regular humbug to be particular. "I will call you Oscar, shall I?" I said, winking. I felt some fervid water oozing down my cheeks. I was blushing. I was glad that he was not Mr. Ellis, Jr. The word junior appears to me like a ragged papa's old coat, which is dreadfully out of fashion. "Will you let me paint you?" he requested. "Am I beautiful enough, do you think?" I said, dropping my eyelids. "Only too charming," he said bravely. I always think every gentleman whom I meet falls in love with me. I regarded Mr. Oscar Ellis already as an adorer. Oh, sentimental Morning Glory! When I returned to Schuyler's, my mind was completely occupied with an absurd fancy. I was thinking, what shall I do when he proposes to me? Shall I say yes? For a girl to fall in love with one while she is staying at his aunt's isn't romantic a bit, is it? I don't care, anyhow, for an artist lover. It is a worn-out hero in old fiction. Doesn't the word artist ring like a synonym for poverty? 22nd. Mrs. Ellis invited me to dinner. I went to Pasadena with Mrs. Schuyler, Jr. The afternoon was fragrant. After the dinner we stepped out to the garden. It was dusky. By and by 20 Japanese lanterns were candled among the trees in my honor. I was in a sprightly bent. I was whispering a little Jap song when Oscar let out 2 donkeys. Olive sprang upon the back of one in gracious audacity. "Jump, Morning Glory!" she exclaimed. I was wavering about my action when I felt Oscar's firm arms around my waist. My small body was lifted onto the donkeys by his careless gallantry. What a sensation ran through me! It was the first occasion to put me into so close contact with American young man. My skirt was caught by the saddle. I made a whole exhibition of my leg, but I was glad the stocking was beautiful. Oscar held my bridle, pacing by my side. Alas, my donkey acted awfully. Did he take it as a degradation to be whipped by a Jap? Suddenly it dropped its honorable rump. I should have been pitifully thrown out if my arm had not seized Oscar's neck. I looked apologetically at him. He turned his delighted face. I could not stay a minute longer. When I got me off from the donkey, I observed the new moon over my right shoulder. "Good luck," Olive-san said. "Why?" Mr. Oscar began to whistle somewhat as follows. 23rd. Today is Mrs. Schuyler's reception day. She set 2 Japanese screens in the drawing room, moving them from her chamber. She sprinkled a lot of exotic bric-a-brac about. She opened a regular Chinese bazaar which expressed every poor taste. Such confusion! I fancied she wanted the callers to recollect that she was Mrs. Ex-Consul of the Orient. Japan teaches nothing but simplicity. Simplicity is the philosophy of art. I wondered how she lived there without learning it. Every inch of Schuyler's parlor means a heap of money. But is there anything more displeasing than tasteless luxury? Sufficiency is grateful, but superfluity is nothing but offense. I thought that Americans buy things because they love to buy, not because they have to buy. American Jin has to study the high art of concealing. The brown people look upon the scattering of things, however costly they be, as lower than barbarity. Japs believe in the sublimity of space. Isn't it delightful to sit on the new matting of a Japanese guest room? Its fresh whiteness used to cure my headache. Isn't it taste to place just one seasonable picture on the tokonoma? So many a Mrs. Brown and Mrs. Smith called. They surrounded me. I asked myself whether they paid a visit to Mother Schuyler or to me. They incessantly threw the following questions at me. How do you like America? How long do you expect to stay? Such an inquisitive American woman! I wished I had been bright enough to print a slip with my reply. Each lady wore 4 rings at least. Are they real things? Diamond is hardly my choice. Haughtily cold, isn't it? I declared that their shapeless fingers were not fit to show without embellishment. If I had money for a ring, I would use it for 365 pairs of silk stockings. Isn't it a joy to change every day? Schuyler's baby made a hit with its kimono. All the ladies kissed and kissed. The baby wondered at their act, rolling its eyes. Mother Schuyler was quite fussy with a little speech about the history of its Japanese gown. Funny old dear. 24th. Mr. Oscar Ellis came to paint me. Dear Oscar, I have never before left my face alone for such a close scrutiny. I was restless at first, fancying that he was gathering all my flaws. Then it happened in my thought that his absorption had something of religious devotion in it. I grew easy. I began to feel like a star with all the admirers in the earth. A garden tree sent its shadow through the window. The time passed as gracefully as a fairy on tiptoe. The air was purple. Oscar-san chatted freely. I never took the part of a listener before in my life. I found listening honorable. So you like the Oriental woman? I said. He said American beauty was rather external, like a street shop window. He would like to know, he said, if there was any word more pathetic than sayonara. Isn't the Japanese woman like it? He asked. I thought he was correct. He continued, I read in a modern poet the following lines. Full of whispers and of shadows, thou art what all the winds have uttered not, what the still night suggesteth to the heart. Such is the vague Japanese beauty in my idea. I am not so nobly sweet, am I? I exclaimed. He cast a strong look as if he were trying to put his final judgment upon me. He moved his brush slowly on the canvas. I bowed a profound bow. Gomen kudasai, I said, and I laid me on the floor, stretching out my legs. 25th. I bought 2 dolls, one for Schuyler's baby as my Christmas gift. I slept with the other last night. I squeezed my ear to the dolly, fancying I might hear a few scratches of human voice. I kissed it. I laughed, saying that the doll was the thing for my starting to learn how to kiss. Sleep till Mama comes back, darling, I said in the morning when I stepped down for my breakfast. I left the table before I had half finished, on account of my anxiety lest the upstairs girl might tattle of my childishness if she found the doll in my bed. Thank heavens, the girl hadn't come around yet. I locked it up in my trunk. What name shall I give it? Charlie? I was disgusted at the thought, because every Chinese, 10,000 Mongols in all, is named one Charlie. Merry Christmas, all of you. End of section 8.